Hello, it's Friday and it's time to end the week with daily Bible reading from Psalm 57. That's where we are as we're reading in the Bible's wisdom literature. We're seeking the wise way, and today's reading is in the book of Psalms. Psalm 57, you ready to read with me? This is an important psalm. I think if we were being chased by assassins or someone was trying to murder us, maybe the last thing that we would be thinking about is, hey, what hymn could I be singing right now? But David actually spent several years being chased by King Saul out in the wilderness, and that was a time for David when he drew closer to the Lord, depended upon God more. And part of that was David was saying, how can I praise God in song? And maybe the question comes, was David running away from Saul and saying, hey, somebody hand me some parchment. Can I jot some things down? I'm not sure it's exactly like that, but I do think in the evening when camp had been made and things were secure, as David contemplated where he was and why Saul hadn't caught him that day, that David was able to say things like, I'm going to put a song together here. I want to sing to the Lord. I want to sing His praises. I want to sing about trusting in God. That's Psalm 57. Let's give it a try. Psalm 57, verse 1. Be merciful to me, O God, be merciful to me, for in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge till the storms of destruction pass by. I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills His purpose for me. He will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame him who tramples on me. God will send out His steadfast love and His faithfulness. My soul is in the midst of lions. I lie down amid fiery beasts, the children of man whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp swords. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. They set a net for my steps. My soul was bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my glory. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations, for your steadfast love is great unto the heavens, your faithfulness unto the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. So as we're working with this psalm a little bit and thinking about it, we always start with what kind of psalm is this? And it most certainly is a lament. There's a cry here for help. Look there in verse 6. They're setting a net. They're digging a pit. There's storms of destruction in verse 1. There's one trampling him, verse 3. This is very much a lament. However, that said, there is a ringing note of confidence here in God's faithfulness, His steadfast love in verse 10. I really think this psalm begins to transition into a hymn of thankfulness and gratitude. It's not just so much about, I need some help right now. By the way, I should say this, there are parts of this psalm that are found in other psalms. Verses 8 to 12 are found in the 108th psalm. There are some differences there, but again, this is a place where we see that the psalms were put together and there was already some collections, and so these 5 collections were collected, and sometimes parts of this song occurs over there. This is a psalm that is very carefully structured. That's not always the case. I've said before, psalmist doesn't always think about a nice, careful 3-point outline, how to do PowerPoint slides, but Psalm 57 is very carefully structured. You've got 4 verses here, and then the refrain in verse 5, be exalted, O God, above the heavens, let your glory be over all the earth. Then you have 4 verses, and guess what? You have that refrain again in verse 11. I think maybe the first 4 verses here are about being helped by the enemy, from the enemies. And then verses 6 to 10, these enemies are really nothing. God is going to deal with them. So a couple of quick thoughts here. It didn't take long to read this psalm. A couple of quick thoughts. If you're looking for imagery, this is your song. Shadow of the wings, verse 1. Storms of destruction. He will send from heaven. That's a powerful image. Sending from heaven. Going to save me from the one who is trampling over me. Lots of that kind of good image. I lie down amid fiery beast. teeth are spears and arrows, tongues are sharp swords. Sometimes in the Psalms we just rush past some of that. We need to soak in that and get the feel for how David feels here about his enemies who are seeking his life. And it is that kind of colorful imagery that makes this psalm so powerful, and we connect with it. They set a net for me. They dug a pit for me. But I love the imagery about the heart. My heart is steadfast. My heart is steadfast. As I said, I think the tone here of this song just has a lift to it as it gets towards the end. We're in a difficult time. Maybe the coronavirus doesn't exactly fit with they set a net for me. It's not an enemy in that kind of conscious way that's trying to take us out. But one of the things that I'm looking here at as I think about the original audiences, David's psalm here, which would be sung for hundreds of years in the temple, in the worship of the temple, the Psalter was used as the hymnal there, would encourage people to trust in God. Be steadfast. Verse 7, am I like that? Am I singing to God because my heart is made up? I'm going to serve the Lord. Or do barriers and problems and hindrances, enemies, whether they're a virus or whether they're a real human being, do those things pull us away from God? So look at verse 10. Your steadfast love is great unto the heavens, your faithfulness to the cloud. God will not forsake us. This song is asking, are we going to forsake God? That's what this psalm is about, and that's what we need to hold on to right here. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be all over this earth. I love this psalm, and I think it's a song that can help us be certain that we're going to continue to stand with the Lord. I think this is a psalm that I'm going to look at and think more about my own personal relationship with God. I think Christ adds something to that as I think about trusting in the Lord because of what Jesus has done. And maybe I'll conclude with this. Carson's anxious for me to get out of here. He's up and roaming around. I guess he's sniffing for any coronaviruses that we've got here in the office, keeping me safe. I appreciate my Scotty dog helping me out like that. I do want you to notice verse 6. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. So often sin has its own evil payback. So often with sin, it just leads to destruction, and it has in it its own judgment. We get involved in that, and the next thing you know, we're not bettered. We thought sin was the way to make our life better, and instead, sin just makes life worse. That's something that you see again and again in the wisdom literature, that sin is something that not only is going to cost us something in eternity, we understand that. We understand that a lot better from the New Testament's teaching, but sin is going to hurt us even here in the right now. That's what's going to happen if we get involved in sinful activities, if we stray away from the Lord. Love this psalm. I think Psalm 57 has a lot to say in a lot of ways to help us and encourage us. Hope that you will sing this song in your heart, and you will let this song help you have a better and closer relationship with the Lord. Thanks for reading the Bible with me today. I look forward to seeing you Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Sunday morning at 11. Going to be preaching right here. Going to talk a little bit more about what God is doing in our lives as we try to see things from God's perspective. And I look forward to seeing you Sunday at 11 a.m. See you then. Thanks for reading the Bible with me today.